Now everybody is playing and talking about Chronos New Dawn, the Dead Space ripoff, which looks kind of uninteresting, honestly. It's one of those games that seems to be made just for those TV shows where they show someone playing a video game and it's generic as fuck. Yeah, that looks like the kind of game that will appear in a hypothetical TV show. So I'm not gonna play it, let alone buy it. Also because it runs on Unreal Engine 5. And then Borderlands 4, like they made 4 of these things. I played the first one, and it was okay for what it was at the time on 360. I think it was the first, or at least my first looter shooter. It was fun. I played it in co-op and all that stuff, but I don't know how they were able to make 4 of these. It's a mystery. One of the many mystery of the industry. But yeah, like everybody is talking about these 2 games because they are the new thing that's gonna be forgotten in a couple of weeks at most. While instead I'll talk about something else. During my waiting time, while I was waiting for Shinobi to release, I did replay a bunch of games. 2 of them were the Mafia games, 1 and 2. I already made a video about it. And now I'm gonna make a video about the other game I replayed, which is Spec Ops The Line. But also, I'm gonna compare it slightly to Max Payne 3, which is another very similar game under certain aspects. So I thought it would be interesting to discuss them both, especially because they are, at this point, they are old games, more than 10 years old. And it's not the first time that happens that 2 games that released in the same year share some similarities. Another famous example you can say is with Resident Evil 4 and Cold Fear. Cold Fear released, I think, around the same time as Resident Evil 4, but it used the same camera that they were using in the Resident Evil 4 prototype, the Hookman version. So it's, and there have been many cases that I don't remember at the moment, but at the time back then, when the situation presented itself, I thought to myself, okay, it's kind of interesting how these 2 games that released in a very short span between each other share quite a lot of similarities. It happens quite a lot. I think it's due to the industry's trend. Like some things trend at the same time. Like when a feature seems to be popularized, everybody else seems to follow through with it. So they put it in their game. But I think it's also sometimes just a coincidence. It depends. Like when someone makes a game that's very successful and then everybody starts copying it, like Gears of War. After Gears of War, there was an influx of third-person cover shooters. It's a mix of things. And so, these 2 games, Max Payne 3, I did replay a couple of years ago, and Spec Ops The Line now. And they share quite a lot of things. I mean, not just because they're both shooters, third-person shooters. They have quite a different approach to their gameplay. Max Payne 3 is very action-oriented. I mean, it's Max Payne. Bullet time, dynamic covers, jumping between covers. There is also, I mean, it's the first Max Payne that has actual cover shooting, but it's not really the correct way to play it, because enemies will, if you stay too long behind cover, they will come and get you. So the AI is quite good in Max Payne 3, still pretty good. Spec Ops The Line instead is more like your classic third-person shooter, so like Gears of War. It's pretty much, you can say, a Gears of War ripoff, just with more realistic setting, even though the gameplay is still very arcadey. Snappy, reactive, shooting the guns feels good. But its most striking characteristic is probably the way you move between cover, because you can slip out of cover and just run. It's much more fluid, you can say, when moving between one cover and the other, compared to something like Gears of War, which is a bit more stiff. So they have two different philosophies, you can say. Max Payne is very arcadey, even though it uses the classic Rockstar inertia in its movement, which I'm not a fan of, honestly. I think it kind of ruins slightly the Max Payne 3 gameplay. While Spec Ops: The Line now, it's pure arcadey, immediate, snappy, like the way they used to make games back then, in 2012, for the most part. So, like I was saying, they share quite a lot of things. Of course, I mean, they are shooters. In their story, they treat various types of mental illnesses, you can say, because Max is obviously depressed in Max Payne 3, contemplating suicide, drinking himself to death. And in Specs Up the Line, I mean, if you've played it, you know, you commit war crimes, pretty much. So it's a very light game. It's very indicated for children, you can say. So they are two games that don't fuck around when it comes to the themes they treat in their stories. Now they both start the same way. I don't know if this kind of story and narration technique has a name, but they start. The game starts when you're pretty deep into the story, almost at the end, and then you get sent back to a flashback, you can say. And they both do this. Max Payne 3 starts pretty much near the end, when you've killed the small guy, Mr. Becker, while Spec Ops: The Line starts when you're on the chopper, after you've destroyed the radio tower. And then they send you back at the beginning of the game. And it's quite funny because the character in Spec Ops: The Line, when you get then after you play all the story and you get back to that same point, he says something that's pretty fourth wall breaking. He said, "Didn't we do this already?"
Wait, this isn't right.
Well, it's too late now.
No, I mean we did this already.
What do you mean?
Ah, fuck it. It's nothing. Just shake these fucking guys.
You got it.
I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, Spec Ops: The Line is full of these things, of breaking the fourth wall, in this sense, with its writing. You like it really gives you the idea of that you're also going crazy, just like the main character is. Which I thought it's very clever writing what they did. Now I'm gonna try not to spoil too much in case you haven't played it, even though it's a very old game and has been delisted, so you probably won't be able to play it unless you have a PS3. And you can find PS3 or 360, or I mean you can play it on PC, but on consoles no. I think maybe it's backwards compatible on Xbox. Who knows? And Max Payne 3 with his story is a bit more straightforward. Yeah, you get to see Max going through something pretty depressing and horrific, but the game still tries to push the message that it's not too late, you can say. like the story ends on a positive note for Max. On almost like it wants to give you some kind of hope for the character, and I don't know, maybe for the player as well. While Spec Ops: The Line is a bit the opposite of that. Unlike Max Payne 3, it starts off pretty optimistic, with you you and your team wanting to complete your mission. And it slowly but steadily devolves into something that's quite disturbing in some ways, because you can really see and sort of perceive the descent into madness of the protagonist. That's going to cause also the death of both of his team squad companions. And yeah, at the end, it's even though you do, there's multiple endings in Spec Ops: The Line, unlike in Max Payne 3. Most of the endings depend on the kind of choice you make right at the end of the game. So it's not something like there are some choices during the gameplay, but don't affect the ending. What affects the ending is what you decide at the end. The multiple choices only like changes some little details here and there, but nothing substantial. Which, I mean, I thought it was also another cool thing about this game. There's different dialogues, different choices you can make, even though they don't affect the story too much. They give you some more context and some more details regarding the characters and their personality. Which, I mean, is cool. You can at least do 2 playthroughs. It justifies 2 playthroughs, even though it's not a very long game. And I was saying, when it comes to the ending, even though you do decide not to self-immolate, let's say, I can't say the proper word, because I think YouTube algo, YouTube AI can hear it. Even though you decide at the end, the game gives you the choice to end it all. But even if you do decide not to do it, you get to play a bit slightly portion, a bit more of the game, a slight portion of the game where you are kind of like you're alive, but it's like you're not really there, because some soldiers they try to come and rescue you, and there you have the choice to surrender or to fight. So there's multiple endings. Like I said, it's very interesting even because of that. Now I'm not gonna spoil all the endings, but the game ends up on a fucked up note, because even if you do survive, it's pretty much implied that you will remain mentally fucked up for the rest of your life. Because even if you, in the ending where you do survive and surrender, Walker says, somebody asks him, like, how did you manage to survive? And he says, who said I did?
You don't mind me asking, what was it like? How'd you survive all this?
Who said I did?
Just to say, I'm not, even though I'm alive, I'm not really here mentally. I have checked out. So, they, like I said, these 2 games came out the same year, and treat, you can say, similar topics in their story, with their heavy tones. The main character also going through some heavy shit, like depression, hallucinations, delusions, I mean, you name it. But they share a slight different message. Like I said before, Max Payne 3 is more fixed in its story. It's set in stone, while Spec Ops is slightly more malleable, you can say. And so I think it's like I said, it's very interesting that these two games came out the same year, and both have very fun, even though simple, they have very fun gameplay. But they share sort of a opposite message to one another, or at least you can say they share a opposite course when it comes to their story, because one starts off optimistic and ends up on a fucked up note, while the other it's the opposite. It starts up on a fucked up note and ends up pretty optimistic. So these are the reasons that made me think to like compare them and talk about them, because maybe some people still haven't played them. With Max Payne 3 you'll probably have an occasion to remedy, because probably they're gonna remaster Max Payne 3 if they haven't already, due to the Max Payne remakes. Well, Spec Ops The Line, I don't think it's gonna get anything. It is kind of a game that came and went. But I mean, it's fine this way. The story is perfectly fine for what they wanted to do. It doesn't need a sequel. Max Payne 3, you can make another Max Payne, in theory. With the Spec Ops line, there's no need for a sequel, because it's a self-concluding story. There's nothing much else to say when it comes to the characters that were in the game. And also, I think it kind of bombed. So, but I think it's still very enjoyable, even though it's very simple. But yeah, let me know, guys, if you played these two games and you think they share some similarities. Because back then, even very cinematic games like these ones were still very focused on the gameplay aspect, while today, seems crazy to say, but they can't even do cinematic games properly, like they used to, which is kind of depressing if you think about it. At some point in time, these kinds of games, like these two, Max Payne and Spec Ops The Line, were pretty much the bread and butter of the AAA industry, you can say. But now, I don't know, do games like this even come out anymore? Probably not. I mean, granted, most games they come out nowadays are re-releases, but original games that treat serious themes like this one, like these two, and we also coupled with interesting gameplay and also fun gameplay, are not really a thing anymore for the most part. Even if they do come out, they just don't play as good. There's always something that's gonna fuck up the game for the most part. Either the gameplay is not interesting, it's not fun, the characters suck ass, the setting is boring. Like, there's always something that ruins the experience, or it's too woke, too PC. While these ones, they have their flaws, but in terms of gameplay, they are perfectly fun, and simple. That they achieve what the developers want them to do, want the games to do, to let you have fun, to make you have fun. So, but yeah, like I said, if you play these two games, let me know your thoughts on them, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye bye, guys.